Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Health, Wellbeing and Social Care Decision Meeting. I'm Matthew Whittington, Cabinet Member for Health, Wellbeing and Social Care. Just some housekeeping first. So if the continuous fire alarm sounds, please evacuate the room and public gallery by the stairwells. Do not attempt to use the lifts. Please assemble at Queen Victoria's statue in front of the civic offices. May I draw everyone's attention to the fact that this meeting will be live streamed from a camera at a fixed location at the back of the meeting room, and the recording will be on the Council's websites. Members of the public are also permitted to record the meeting on the understanding that neither disrupts the meeting nor records those stating explicitly they don't wish to be recorded. Of course, we've got no one coming to speak, I don't believe. I ask everyone to use the microphones provided when they are speaking. So, if I can just go around the room in terms of introductions first. So if we start with you, Richard.
Hi, Richard Webb, Finance Manager.
Hi, I'm Louise O'Sullivan. I'm the Group Accountant for Adult Social Care and Public Health.
Angela Dry, Director of Adult Services.
Anna Martin, Democratic Services.
Luke Stubbs, Conservative Group Spokesman.
Thank you very much. And I see we have the Councillor Linda Symes in the gallery. Welcome, Linda. And a couple of officers. Would you just like to shout out who you are? Thank you very much. And we also have Fiona here from the news. So welcome, Fiona. So, if we move on to item 1 with the agenda, apologies for absence.
Councillor Graham Heaney.
Thank you very much. Luke, do you have any declarations of interest? No, and neither do I. So move swiftly on to item 3. So adult social care fees and charges 2020 to 2021. And this is over to Richard.
I'll take the stage.
Oh, okay, Louise, over to you.
Kindly allowed me to do so for today, so thank you.
Very generous of you.
Indeed. So you have the paper in front of you for the fees and charges for 2020-2021. So those are the prices that adult social care would charge for the services that adult social care provide, the Portsmouth City Council provide. What I was planning to do was to take you through the recommendations, and then after I've taken you through the recommendations, see if you want me to take you through the rest of the report or if you've got questions that you want to ask. I'll probably lead you through the recommendations slightly out of sequence because it flows slightly better, so I'll do that. So I'm going to take you first to recommendation A, which is to increase the current fees and charges by 1.7%, which is in line with the CPI inflation rate for September 2019. There is more information within the paper itself within section 5.1, which explains the rationale for this, and it's to do with the rate that is usually used to uprate social security benefits. So that's recommendation A. What I'd like to do then is move you on to recommendation D. Recommendation D is that we continue with this methodology going forward. The idea is that we'll increase transparency and clarity by knowing in advance what we're going to do. There's more information in the paper within section 5.2 as to that, and we would be seeking to do this within the bounds of rounding. We might have to tweak slightly for rounding purposes on implementation. So that's recommendation D. I'm going to now move on to recommendation E. If for any reason we didn't use or propose not to use that inflation rate, if there was any exception to that for any purposes, then we would be seeking to come back at the beginning of the year with an MIS to explain what rate we were proposing and why and what the rationale was. So what I will do now is move back to recommendation B. And this is really just a note. So within the paper, we've explained within section 5.6 to 5.8 that the rates that we're proposing are not full cost recovery rates. So the rates we've got are previous rates uplifted by inflation, but they are not full cost recovery rates, and an explanation for that is within the paper. I'm then going to move on to recommendation C. What we would also seek to do is to vary some of the rates that we have, not for the rates we charge to clients, but the rates that we charge for other bodies Should they want to use our facilities and should we be struggling with demand, we may seek to vary those rates to meet the demand pressures that we've got, but that would not be for clients directly, that would be for other authorities seeking to use Portsmouth facilities. That's recommendation C. I will then move on to recommendation F. So this is in relation to intermediate care at Victory. I will note that this is slightly different to what was proposed in the briefing previously. We've removed one element from this. So all we are seeking to do within recommendation F is to charge for care after week 7. After week 7, once the intermediate care, the period of free care for this first statutory 6 weeks is complete, we'd be seeking to charge. There is a section in the paper under 5.12, and if we look to expand services in Victory for other sorts of care, we might come back with a paper to expand that more and explain more. So that's 5.12 in the paper. And so then I'll move on to the final recommendation, which is recommendation G, and that is that should we have some small admin fees that we perform, that we might seek to cost recover for those admin fees. There are some services that we've had to provide, and they're explained in more detail under section 5.13, to support clients' family or to provide other admin fees outside of the Care Act. And if we're asked to facilitate those activities, those admin activities in future, and it is a cost to us, we would be seeking to cost recover for those admin tasks outside of the Care Act. So those are the recommendations A through to G. And it's over to you whether you'd like me to take you through the paper in more detail or whether you have any questions.
Thank you, Louise. Just could I ask Angela to come in at this point, just on the, if she could just go into a bit more understanding of what the rationale behind the introduction of proposed charging for intermediate care from week 7 at Victory, and just what's the reason for doing this?
Thank you. Under the Regulation 3, Paragraph 3 of the Care and Support Charging and Assessment of Resources Regulations in 2014, local authorities are not allowed to charge when intermediate care services are delivered to people for up to 6 weeks. And intermediate care is defined as having a multidisciplinary approach. So the person would probably need between maybe social work, maybe personal care, physio, occupational therapy, etc., any combination of those. And so the Victory unit was set up originally to provide a reablement service within the intermediate care guidelines, and so potentially has always been free for the first 6 weeks, and then from week 7 onwards we had the ability to charge. The reality to date is that very, very few people have ever gone past 7 weeks. Most stays at Victory are considerably under the 6-week period. We have had periods of time over the last year or so where Victory has not been full with people requiring reablement, and so we've started to have some conversations about how we could utilise those beds to ensure that we're making maximum use of the resource. Obviously there is considerable pressure on the hospital, and there are people in the hospital who occasionally need to go somewhere before they go home whilst we're doing adaptations or other such things in the properties. And Victory provides an opportunity for those people, assuming they have got nobody waiting for reablement or rehab. So the suggestion was put that we start to offer those beds to cover that gap in current provision, because we know that if people go into standard residential care, it's very difficult after a period of time for them to then go home, whereas the reablement focus in Victory will enable people to maximise their independence. So having had some further thoughts after the briefing, what we felt was that having people within that unit, and having spoken to the manager and the head of service, that it lends itself really nicely for people to have a full multidisciplinary assessment whilst they're in Victory and really maximise the skills that they had while they were at home. Hence why, rather than charging for people that hadn't automatically gone in for reablement, we decided that we would just treat everybody with that multidisciplinary approach. However, within the guidance, and particularly for some clients, if we are waiting for adaptations or we're waiting for stuff to happen, it may be that they are there for more than that 6 weeks. And if they're not there specifically for reablement, then we just seek to be able to charge from that point.
Thank you very much. Luke, did you have any questions, comments? No? Okay. Thank you for that, Angela. I think that was really helpful to help understand where we are in terms of our what we're trying to do in terms of the intermediate care, and that we are governed by legislation and guidance from the government. With that, did you have anything at all, Luke, you wanted to say on this? No, that's fine. No, I just wasn't sure if there was any questions or anything. No. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, just to confirm, myself, Councillor Stubbs and Councillor Heaney had quite some conversation about this at our briefing. I think we're all of the thinking that these are reasonable, and especially I'm pleased that we've been clearer in our in the paper about what the charging for intermediate care is and why we're doing that. Without further ado then, I'm very happy to accept the recommendations as stated. I'm not going to read them all out because there's quite a lot of them and they're quite in depth. But thank you also, Louise, for taking us through that in great detail. And so I'm happy to accept the recommendations as on the paper. And that concludes the meeting. Thank you very much.